Fani Willis has indicted Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, a number of their associates. Let's stick with Rudy and Donald right now. There's a symmetry and there's an irony that we need to talk about here. Let's start with the symmetry. These two media creations, America's mayor and America's businessman, both utter bullshit, both built on lies, both these petty little men, both outward racists. These two tabloid creations of New York turned into these larger-than-life characters that never were that. And now they're coming to an end with these indictments. These two bullshitters, these media myths, these two these two vicious individuals. There's a massive irony to this, which is Rudy Giuliani built his reputation by being this crime-busting lawyer, supposedly. He was going to take down the 5 families. As a guy who used a very specific law.
It makes it sound like Elliot Ness is running the thing.
Who is running the thing? Who's the prosecutor?
Rudolph Giuliani, New York Southern District.
You know him?
No.
He pioneered a RICO law, right? Because he felt he needed to be able to go after criminal conspiracies in the mob with RICO laws. Guess what he was indicted for? That's right, it was under RICO. It was his conspiracy with Donald Trump, alleged, of course, to undermine, overthrow our elections. He's being hoisted on his own card, and it is beautiful. Of course, he never was the person he claimed to be. Just as everybody now knows Donald Trump was never the guy that he claimed to be. Not as many know it with Rudy. He became America's mayor after 9/11. Do you know that the reason he was out in the streets that day is because he chose to build the counterterrorism center in the only spot that had been hit by a terrorist attack before, the World Trade Center. But he had donors who had property in the building, so hey, that's where the counterterrorism center. Even as a crime buster, Rudy was laughable, right? Oh, Mr. Go After the Mob. Of course, he had ties to the mob. He becomes buddies with Bernie Kerik, who became his driver, who had massive mob ties, and of course Bernie Kerik with no qualifications, sound like Trump a little bit, ended up becoming the head of the NYPD. Mr. Giuliani, the guy who can't stand the mob. And of course he hung out with Donald Trump, a guy who, since Fred Trump, his dad, had been laundering money for the Lucchese crime family. One of the families Rudy supposedly went after. That's what they're using their slum properties for. And we know Donald Trump used his properties to launder money for the Russian mob. Rudy was going to use the RICO law to put all the mobsters away, and then all he ended up doing was hanging out with all the mobsters, enabling all the mobsters, behaving like a mobster, and now the RICO law is being used against him. Absolutely gorgeous. Rudy and Donnie, maybe they can share a cell together and talk about the good times in the tabloids in New York in the 80s. That's all they're going to have left.